Hi everyone, Sue Matsuki here for Nightlife Exchange with another Sue's Muse. And I have to say that today I'm kind of fangirling a little bit because I have known about this person for years and years and years and seen tons of their work and just could not be more honored and proud to sit and talk for a little bit with the one and only Charles Busch. Thank you for joining us today, Charles. Thank you.
Thanks for having me on, Sue.
So, Charles, everyone, I'm going to have all links to ticket sales for upcoming shows and bios and all that. But if you don't know who Charles is, where have you been, first of all? You've been around a while.
I've been around a
A
while,
minute, a minute or two.
50 years.
Playwright, actor, director, cabaret star, novelist, TV star, Tony nominated, Outer Critic Award winner. I mean, and of course, legendary drag icon. Before we came on camera, I was just talking to you a little bit about how I think you are the reason why so much has changed over these years in terms of how people are auditioning for Broadway shows and being accepted in the roles that they're accepting. Back in the day, what was it like for you? Is that why you became so creative with writing your own projects to work? Tell us a little bit about how that all happened.
That's really the truth. I'm from New York City. I was born in New York and had been going to the theater since I was 7 years old. And I guess the dream was to be an actor.
Mhm.
Uh, and then I was a student at I was a theater major at Northwestern University. And I just it was never cast in a play. I was this kind of, fragile androgynous kind of young fellow, and there were no roles in
Mhm.
those days really in the dramatic literature that would be suitable for me. This is before, Torch Song Trilogy, which made a huge impact,
It
on
truly did.
changing perceptions of, what characters were suitable as leading, characters, protagonists. So there really was nothing for me. And I wasn't very good, to be quite honest, when I would try to be sort of the young guy. And I have a pragmatic nature, and which has stood me well. And I could see, yeah, after I'd be disappointed when I wouldn't get cast in a play, I'd think, well, actually, I would cast that guy also, because what I have to offer would complicate the story in a way. He's better for it. And fortunately, I always was writing. I was writing full-length plays at 11, but when began to see more experimental theater, and when I would come home for vacations from college, and particularly when I saw Charles Ludlam, who was this extraordinary uh, playwright, director, brilliant actor who had his own company, and he created roles for himself as well as the other members of his troupe. And so he mostly played male characters. He's
Mhm.
kind of known as this, gone down in history as the sort of drag icon. But I would say out of probably 30 plays that he wrote, maybe three times he played a female character, but it was so extraordinary. And so he was a big influence on me to see that, oh, that maybe the theater could be more than just me auditioning for a part that I will never get.
What
So
was
so I
the
just
what was the first topic of the first play you wrote when you were 11?
oh, it was probably, I think it was inspired by various movies I'd seen on television. I think it was a mix of The Heiress and what was the other one? I forget. Yeah, I was born with a romantic sensibility, with and loving actresses playing tragic roles and
You
thwarted
have a type of
love.
the actresses that you like too. I mean, in your Lincoln Center show, that was what, My Leading Lady? No, that was the Ladies with a Mic, right? The one that you
Yeah,
prepared for Lincoln. Now
yeah.
that was a show of broads. That was Elaine Stritch and Julie Wilson and Polly Bergen and Joan Rivers.
Did you see it?
I did not see it. I wish I had seen it. I looked up some
Oh,
of the
you're
projects
good.
that you were in,
You're
but
good
I
research.
noticed that, Julie Wilson was my mentor, and I know who that woman is. And is that the kind of woman, even in movies, that you gravitated to, this kind of salty, broad type gal?
Actually, I think I the kind of lady that I respond to is the elegant, great lady who maybe came from humble origins and can get a little salty after a cocktail or two, but is very much a great lady. I think that differentiated me early on from other performers who had drag personas who you often wanted to be the female sexual outlaw,
Mhm.
and very outrageous. And I tended to gravitate toward Greer Garson and Norma Shearer and elegant ladies. But the tension would be, at what point does she drop her grand manners and get real tough and get the best of any man?
Yeah, that describes my Julie in a nutshell because what she looked like and who she was off stage
Hmm.
were
I
so
knew her.
different
I
and
knew her a
so
bit.
wonderful.
I knew her. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No.
We have Julie Wilson and I had a very close mutual friend, Dr. Barry Cohn, the
Mhm.
allergist who my play is somewhat inspired by. And often I sat next to her at dinner parties. And at one point I was curious. I asked her because on one level she was this rather elegant lady,
Completely, yes.
and I asked her, what role in a play or a movie would she love to play? Because she didn't have that much of an acting career, uh, and she said, "Oh, a pioneer woman driving like a stagecoach or a wag. Oh, not stagecoach. The wagon
Yeah, yeah.
across the."
That doesn't
And that
surprise
really was
me.
very her. Isn't that really was her? Because ultimately she was kind of this Omaha gal
She
who was
really was.
very strong, and single mom and all of that.
Yeah. We just did a tribute to her down at Cutting Room with her son Holt. It was just wonderful.
I heard
Now,
about it.
the new show you're bringing to 54 Below, on my anniversary, by the way, March 21st and 22nd at 7 o'clock. Maybe I'll drag my husband with me as I'll make it be my anniversary present. It's called My Leading Ladies. Now, is this show those women, or is it a celebration of the women that you have played over the years? I'm curious to know who those ladies are. Without giving too much of the show away, of course, but
No, no, I tell you, when the 54 Below contacted me and asked if I would like these dates in March, uh, it was all very kind of sudden. They wanted a title very quickly, and so I just kind of pulled it out of a hat. Well, almost everything I ever do ever is about some sort of leading ladies. My memoir that came out a year ago is called Leading Lady. Uh, yeah, I've written a play called Our Leading Lady about Laura Keane. I mean, I just kind of threw it out there because I assumed that whatever I did would be about some kind of leading lady. Uh,
same.
well, I think I would say this particular show, because actually I choose the songs first, and then I think, how does it relate to a theme? Um, I would say a number of these songs, I lead into them by telling an anecdote about some woman or a girl who connected me to that song. Like, for instance, I do a Edith Piaf song, La Foule, and I talk about how maybe the first diva I ever met was my French teacher in in the seventh grade, Miss Rockland, who I had a terrible crush on, just terrible. She looked kind of like Georgia Brown in the 60s, and
Oh,
and I had a terrible crush on her. And particularly when so my word got around that when she wasn't teaching French, she was actually a cabaret artist. And so I draw well.
mhm.
So I drew her. I was so infatuated and loved all of her different outfits that she'd wear to class. So I took a big piece of oak tag. Remember oak tag?
Oh yeah.
And I drew kind of full length portraits of her in all her different outfits. and then presented it to her. Oh, that's so embarrassing.
Oh, that's so sweet.
It's
No,
sweet. So
it's so
yeah,
sweet.
and I was so bad in school too, and so she tried to explain to me that even though I had such a wonderful French accent, um, that it was important to learn grammar
Mm.
to really appreciate the language. But anyway, so yeah, so that's kind of an example, right? Or there's no, I'm singing Pirate Jenny, which
Oh,
I've always wanted to sing
who
that.
brought that one to you, just out of curiosity?
Well, I always love, I love Lenya on the
Mhm.
recording of Three Penny Opera, but I don't think I really knew the song, but until I was in college, and I took a class. It was a dialect class, and we had to do some kind of a monologue, but using a different dialect, German or Irish. And there was a strange girl in the class who was this very kind of bird-like creature, and she didn't speak to anyone. And she got up and she recited the lyrics to Pirate Jenny in a German accent. And oh, I was just so taken with her. And I think she dropped out. It's like Laura Wingfield or something in the class menagerie. I never got to chat with her or anything, but I was so intrigued.
But hey, you got the song from her, sort of. Yeah.
Yeah, and that led me to wanting to find out more about who sang that song. Oh, and Lottie Lenya. Oh, yes, who was in Cabaret on Broadway. Oh, so I guess for me, and I'm sure it's true for most people. One thing leads you to another, to another,
Mhm.
to another. And yeah, I think I'm also, gosh, I was a big Bette Midler fan from the time I first saw her on the Tonight Show, and then when her first album came out, and I think I was a freshman at college, and so I'm going to sing "Superstar" that she sang on her first album that was also had earlier been done by Karen Carpenter, and then Bette Midler singing "Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy" got me interested in the Andrews Sisters. And years later, I actually performed with Maxine Andrews in a show called Swingtime Canteen and got to sing Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy with Maxine Andrews. And
Wow.
I felt like I'd walked into the movie. It was kind of wild. So we're going to do not Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy, but another Andrews Sisters song, Beat Me Daddy H to the Bar. So,
Wow, it sounds like a great show. Can't
yeah,
wait.
it's gonna be really fun. I'm working with a new musical director, John O'Manelli.
I
And
saw that in the write-up
yeah,
on 54. Tell me
yeah,
about that
adorable.
collaboration. How did that come to be?
Well, I've been working really my whole cabaret career with a wonderful fellow, Tom Judson, and we
Hmm.
had just this great collaboration. But he lives way up, near Hudson, New York, and it's a big schlep.
Yeah.
And so for him to, it's not much fun. He has to 5 hours of the day would be him going back and forth, on the train, and then he's got a diabetic cat
Hmm.
who's never liked me. Whenever I would go up there to rehearse, sometimes I would rehearse it with Tom up all the way up there, and well, that cat never liked me, and that cat has tried to destroy my cabaret career.
As cats will do.
Yes, and so Tom, naturally chose the cat, and so he has to be home to give
Yeah.
the cat the injection, every night at 5.
Well, it's
So
got to be exciting starting a new project with a new team too, and just to kind of see where that goes and what everybody
yeah,
brings to the table. Now, of all the, I just want to put up this. This is from your website, and I was just so impressed with this. I mean, you've been in over 25 plays, and these were all written by you or written by, how
oh
did,
yeah, they're all written by me. Yep,
wow.
I write them and I act them.
And how many ladies, different lady characters have you performed as?
I can't see too closely there,
Well,
but
there's actually more. This is just a
yeah.
snap.
Well, I would say I'm the opposite of Ludlam, where he probably played 3 out of 30, played 3 female roles. I'd say I've only played male characters, maybe out of all those plays,
It's
one,
such an
two,
impressive body
two,
of work, though.
maybe, I think maybe only twice. I think the only times I've played male roles in plays of mine, full-length plays. are the tribute artist, and you should be so lucky. Yeah. I think what I do best, what I have to offer, let's put it that way, is playing a female character with a kind of realism that you would, well, realism that you find in a 1939 MGM movie. But yeah, I mean, I don't really do spoof.
Hmm.
I think it's funny sometimes, you think, oh, do you have a feeling that people even who are fond of what I do maybe don't completely understand what I'm
You
doing?
see, I don't really describe you when I talk about you as drag per se. Yes, you are a New York iconic drag personality, but I've always considered what you do an actor and that the role happens to be a female role, and you so embody that persona that I lose the fact that you're a man in a dress, and then it's not drag anymore. It's not I guess drag also has become so over the top now with performance art and everything. It's a different genre than just
We all bring to it something very different,
right,
and sometimes it's even kind of based on your physicality, in a
right.
certain sense that in when I play a female character, I can look very convincing. I'm only 5'7", and
Mhm.
I just can look quite convincing as this bigger than life lady.
Mhm.
And so I've never been that exaggerated in my look, because you so often my plays have been very I wouldn't call them lampoons. They're homages
Homages, yeah.
to a movie genre, the you know wartime melodrama, or early 30s confession era tearjerker.
Mhm.
So they can almost be enjoyed as the old movie itself, as
Yeah,
well
that's
as
how I
well as
think of what you
a
do.
take on it. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I tend to play them in a more I say realistic, except the actresses themselves were somewhat stylized, Joan Crawford or Betty Davis,
But I
but
mean, even when we
that's
watch
what
an
I
old
do.
movie now, their acting seems over the top. So you were legitimately portraying those era actresses in the way that they acted.
But they're on it's honest and emotionally true, but
Absolutely.
in a somewhat more theatrical style than we're used to
Yeah.
today. Let's put it that
It's
way.
so interesting. Now, what do you think about coming to Broadway? I mean, for me, any one of your characters could translate into a show. Have you talked to anybody about going
It's, it's,
past off Broadway? And I know from my lips to God's ears, right?
I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen. No, that was a bit of a fantasy for me always, that that I would get a chance to do one of my plays, my female character, the place that I act in. I've had plays on Broadway. I had a big Broadway hit years ago, The Tale of the Allergist's Wife, that Linda
Right.
Lavin starred in,
That
and
played what, over 700 performances or something? Yeah.
2 years on Broadway, and then a year national tour, and that was a great success for me. But I was not in that play.
Mhm.
Um, and I've written a couple of musicals that didn't do too well, but anyway, yeah, no, I would always kind of wanted to have one of my off-Broadway plays move to Broadway, but never happened. It might have been too soon, and so of course now this very talented fellow Cola Scola has had this enormous success in Oh Mary,
Mhm.
and he's a lovely guy. I've been a fan of Cole for a
Yeah.
long time, and
He's
he's a
adorable off stage too.
adorable and a good,
Smart.
generous person. I mean,
Yeah.
he's been so sensitive and gracious to me as some kind of, inspiration or whatever. Um,
Mhm.
and yeah, so
But
and
why
yeah,
not that? I
I
mean,
haven't
why,
really been
why?
jealous. I have not been jealous. I have not been jealous that he got this great opportunity, and I think it's just been great. Mm.
But
I,
again, that goes back to what I said at the top of this interview. You were the start and gave legs to the fact that that can happen now. if it weren't for you putting up the shows that you put up and fighting the good fight and creating projects where you could be who you were as these grand dames of musicals and theater and movies and stuff, I don't know that we would have seen that today. I think you are grassroots level of why we're here today, Charles. So on behalf of
Well,
everyone, I thank you for that.
well, thank you. So it's all continuing. I was inspired by Charles Ludlam, and then it's lovely if I've inspired another generation. Um, I think it's great. But yeah, no, I'm not jealous or anything like that, or envious, or I've done just fine. Yeah.
I'm wondering why, though, if you have an agent, why you haven't been sent for any of the number of roles that you could play. A
Oh, because
female,
I would pursue it.
you wouldn't.
No, I've never pursued that. It was, frankly, there until very recently, and I still don't think it's really happening. But it would be pointless. I mean, it was not cons in the
But there's
cards,
this
you
whole new
know.
wave of non-binary casting, which I actually think is great, that if you identify or if you have the vocal capability or the physicality to go in and audition for a role, whatever your biological sex is, doesn't matter, that people are starting to look at actors in that way now. I don't know if it's really happening, or if it's just grassroots level at this
I think
point,
there
but
are some very extraordinary people like Jinx Monsoon, who's playing,
mhm,
all sorts of great parts. But she's a trans person, so I mean, she's in a sense a woman,
right.
and or Alexandra Billings has played Madame Morrible, so it's different. I don't know. Uh, except for them, because they're women.
Mhm.
Actors by cisgender actresses have such a hard time. I don't think I'd want to take a part from an actress who could play it. But yeah, it's interesting that things are just a bit looser, and but also I really just love playing in my own parts that I've written myself. I never really wanted to be an actor for hire. There's certain classical roles that I have fantasized maybe about playing, but
What are they?
well, I wanted to play I love Ibsen, and I wanted to play Hedda Gabler, and then but 2 years ago, Carl Andrus, who's directed most of my plays for the past 25 years, said, well, because the idea the odds that I was actually going to be playing Hedda Gabler in a full production were pretty slim. But Carl said, couldn't you write yourself a part where you get to play all your favorite moments from Ibsen? And I thought, well, I guess. I thought it's not as easy as putting together an
That would be a cool concept, even not if
Irving
it's
Berlin
just
medley.
Ibsen, but
Well, but I did it. So I did it. So I wrote this play, Ibsen's Ghost, that we did last year, first at the George Street Theater um, in New Jersey. Then we moved it to the Lucille Lortel and did our run. And it got kind of mixed reviews, but it was awfully good production and got it out of my system. So I got to play bits of. I wrote it as a kind of fictionalized portrait of Ibsen's widow, Susanna,
Mhm.
and with the take that she was kind of an Ibsenian heroine, and so haunted by the past, and so the scenes evoked moments from Hedda Gabler or ghosts, but it was the original story, and very funny as well. It was a comedy, but I did get to play the different feelings and moments that I long to, and
What's
that
left
for
on the
me that's
bucket list, though? It sounds like, I mean, you've ticked so many things off that other people only dream about. What's left on your bucket list?
I don't know, I'm at a certain point. I'm not sure how much theater I'm going to do. I think I will do at least one more play next year. There's a yeah, well, I'm not exactly sure what that is. There are a couple plays that that we sort of did off the radar, that'd be fun actually now to do and be reviewed and all that. But there are other things to do. I'm absolutely at the moment I'm consumed by in writing my first murder mystery novel. Yeah, and I'm just so enjoying that. But boy, is that hard
Yeah.
coming up with all these details. Unfortunately, I have a very close friend Kathy, who's one thing she's done my wigs for my whole career, but she's like my sister, and she's so pragmatic, and so we keep going over these, you know, ways of killing people. They were the details. I get some new idea for the book, and I run it past her, but she's the type of person to, but how would he know that happened? And she'll pick up just that detail that I
Little
haven't figured
nuances,
out.
yeah.
Oh, okay, then I
Everybody needs that person in their
yeah,
life.
you
Yeah.
have to. Actually, I was recently in the hospital. Brief day, I had a kind of umbilical hernia surgery, and I was sharing the room with this young man who was on the other side of the curtain, who I never actually saw, and he wasn't in the mood for engaging. But anyway, Kathy would be sitting with me, and we would be intensely talking about you know, how to get the strychnine into the cocaine, and we are kind of whispering on my side of the
Can you
curtain.
imagine what
I
that
don't know
other
what this
person
poor
thought?
guy. I was probably talking to his father. I gotta get out of here.
My goodness, that's funny. Theater people. So I am so excited to have spent some time with you. Thank you so much for hanging out with us
Yeah.
today. And everybody, the link will be right down below this interview. Join me at 54 Below on March 21st and 22nd at 7 o'clock to see this amazing piece of New York cabaret and historic history. I just love them to death. And I'm really, really thrilled to have spent some time with you, Charles. Thank you so much for being my guest
It's fun,
today.
so I hope we do it again.
Yeah, anytime. Let me know when your murder mystery comes out. We'll talk about that.
Okay.
Take care, everyone. We'll see you next time. Thank you for joining us.